Hello, my lovely students. How are you? Today we will complete Unit 4, TV Around the World. Lesson 3, Grammar, page 56 and 57. Today we will use direct and indirect object 2 and 4 before indirect objects. We also complete the conversation with 4 or 2. Finally, we will rearrange the words to create 2 sentences. At first, let's ask a question. What is a direct object? A direct object is a noun or a pronoun that receives the action of a verb. Noun like Ahmed, Ali, Ragat, school, or house, but pronoun like him, them, her. Is it clear? A direct object answers the question what or who. For example, John wrote the poem. What did John write? He wrote the poems. So the poem is direct object. Direct object. D-I. D is the abbreviation of direct and O for object. Another example, John likes his new teacher. Who does John like his new teacher? Excellent. So it's called what? It's called direct object. Great job. Direct object. D-O. What about indirect object? An indirect object tells to whom or for whom the action done. There must be a direct object for there to be an indirect object. For example, John wrote the poem for his mother. The poem is direct object. Excellent. Now, for whom did John write the poem? Excellent. For his mother. So his mother is an indirect object. Indirect object. I for indirect, O for object. John reads the poem to the audience. To whom did John read the poem? To the audience. So the audience is indirect object. I-O, indirect object. You understand? If there is a proposition like to or for, the indirect object goes after the direct object, okay? Like, she gives the remote control to me. Where is the direct object? Remote control. Excellent. D-O. Where is the indirect object? Me. Very good. Me is the indirect object. Is there a proposition? Of course, yes. What is the proposition in this sentence? To. Very good. If there a proposition like to or for, so the indirect object comes after the direct object. Okay, do you get it? If there is no proposition, no to or for, the indirect object goes before the direct object. Like this example, she gave me the remote control. Here, this is the indirect object. Me is indirect object. And where is the direct object? Excellent. Remote control is the direct object. It comes after the indirect object, or the indirect object comes before the direct object. Okay? When the direct object is a pronoun, the pronoun goes before the indirect object. For example, she gave it to me. Direct object is pronoun and indirect object is also a pronoun. So we use it to me. How to use to and for? There is difference between them? Of course, yes. When we use to, when do we use for. We use to if the indirect object is receiving something. Use to with these verbs. Bring, convince, give, hand, lend, offer, pass, pay, promise, read, sell, send, show, take, tell, or write. Please underline these verbs and write to. For example, will you pass a pillow to me? Here we use to. Why? Because the verb here is pass. Okay? Keep in mind this note, the preposition to is not used when the indirect object comes before the direct object. For example, will you pass me a pillow? Here we don't use to because the indirect object is before the direct object. So we omit the preposition. What about for? Use for if the indirect object is benefiting from some kind of help. Use for with these verbs. Book, build, buy, cook, find, get, keep, leave, make, order, and receive. Okay, underline these verbs and write for. For example, my parents bought a new TV for me. Here we use for. Why? Where is the verb? Perfect. Bought. It's the past form of the verb buy. Pay attention when the preposition for isn't used when the indirect object comes before the direct objects, like to. His parents are buying him a new TV for his graduation. With some verbs, the indirect object always follows the direct object, and the preposition for can't be omitted. Answer, cash, change, close, fix, open, prepare, pronounce, and translate. We can't change the order between direct and indirect object. For example, can you please translate the program for me? What is the verb here? Translate. Excellent. So, translate should be followed by direct object, then the preposition for, and after that we will add indirect object. Can I say, can you please translate me the program? No, we can't say that. Okay, with these verbs, we should use direct object, preposition, then indirect object. We can't rearrange or change the order. You understand? Now, are you ready to answer the exercise? Okay, exercise number A, complete the conversation with for or to. This conversation between Alex and Omar. What happened in last night's episode for Fast and Safe? I recorded it. It was great. What is the verb here? Excellent, record. Record. So we use to or for. Excellent. For you. It was great. Tell me about it. Well, Alan wrote an email. Ahmed. Where is the verb? You should determine the verb. Underline the verb. Wrote. Excellent. So we will use for or to. Very good, my dear students. To. confess him. Where is the verb? We should underline the verb confessed. Very good. Confess to. Confess to. To him that he had tampered with the engine of the car he was driving. Ahmed kept reading the email. Very good, my dear students. To himself. Then Alan tried to make up for it. He got a fantastic car for Ahmed. Very good. For Ahmed to drive. For Ahmed to drive in this show. He bought a new helmet. Very good. For him. Because the verb here is bought. He even sent a limo. Very good. To Ahmed also. Because the verb sent. The verb sent to drive him to the studio. What did Ahmed do? Well, he was angry at first. Then he demanded that Alan make a public statement on the air and promised that he would never do anything like that. Very good. To him again. To him again. Do you write the answer? Okay. Let's answer the next exercise. Exercise number B. Rearrange the words to create two sentences. One with the indirect object placed after the direct object, and another with the indirect object placed before the direct object. For example, I sent the TV schedule John. I sent John the TV schedule. Subject, verb, indirect object, and direct object. Or I can say I sent the TV schedule to John. Subject, verb, direct object, preposition, and indirect object. Number 1. The comedian told the audience a joke. How can we rearrange these words to create two sentences? Where is the subject? Excellent. The comedian. Verb, told the audience a joke. The comedian told the audience a joke. So, the audience is indirect object. And a joke is direct object. So we don't use preposition. We don't use to or for. Or we can use to or for, like this sentence. The comedian told a joke to the audience. Because we start with direct object, then the preposition to, and indirect object. Is it clear now? Okay, who can answer number 2? A glass of water. The talk show host poured the celebrity. Where is the subject? Where is the verb? Excellent. The talk show host is the subject. Poured, verb. The celebrity, a glass of water. Indirect object and direct object. Or we can say the talk show host poured a glass of water for the celebrity. Number 3. The sitcom dad gave his wife his wallet. The sitcom dad gave his wife his wallet. Excellent. Indirect object and direct object. Or we can say the sitcom dad gave his wallet to his wife. We use the preposition to because the verb here is give or gave. Number 4, his cheese, the cat, the cartoon mouse offered. The cartoon mouse offered the cat his cheese. Here we start with indirect object, then direct object without preposition. Or we can say the cartoon mouse offered his cheese to the cat. Direct object, preposition, and indirect object. All of you understand? Okay, take care of yourself and goodbye, my dear students.